Decision making is not conscious. There really is no evidence whatsoever in neuroscience for the existence of free will. There isn't really even a good definition of free will that makes any logical sense. But if the basic definition is that you somehow consciously make decisions that are completely autonomous and uninfluenced by anything in your life, there's really no evidence for that whatsoever, and there's a lot of counter evidence for it. Generally, the more you understand about someone, the more you can predict their decision making because the factors about who they are influence their decision making so greatly. There has never been a decision in the history of humankind that was independent from the person's lifetimes of influences, their genetics, their mood, the culture they were raised in, the temperature of the room they're in at the time. All of it steers and manipulates your decision making. And there's really nothing, no evidence whatsoever that there's some extra factor like a soul or some part of you that has an extra, influence in the decision making. Basically, every decision making could be described by processes in the brain happening in the subconscious region. One way to look at it is everyone's actions make sense if you know a lot about them. If you know the factors behind somebody's decision making, then the decisions make total sense. So things that can look like random free will events, like somebody committing their first crime or somebody storming out of the office and quitting their job when it looked like they were having a good day, or somebody randomly throwing an egg at a stranger. These might look like random free will events, but if you knew everything about the person, you'd see that that was coming. The person who committed a crime had been building up with lust and longing for this crime, and their addiction had started to reduce their inhibitions, and so on and so on and so forth, until it was like, okay, they're going to do something. It's just a matter of time. The guy who quit his job has a build-up of stress and a lot of beliefs and thoughts that are leading to a kind of push towards a certain state of being that makes him want to quit his job. The guy randomly throws an egg, that impulse that you're seeing has a backstory to it that makes total sense, probably going all the way back to childhood. So it's actually quite easy to be unbothered by other people's harmful behavior. Not to say to tolerate that behavior, but to not be emotionally upset by it if you understand they are not a conscious agent. Okay, they are not this individual making decisions completely free of any other influence. That we are essentially all victims, you might say, depending on your luck, to our genetics, to our upbringing, to our mood, to our belief system, to the culture we're raised in. It's not a fluke that most Muslims come from Muslim countries and most Christians come from Christian countries and that most Hindus come from Hindu countries. Like, that's not some lucky fluke of free will happening to land with the local culture, is it? No, you grow up with what you grow up with. You're interested in sports. Notice how people around you are also interested in sports, and your father was interested in sports, and that was the time that you bonded best with him, was when you watched a game on the TV, and now you're obsessed with football. That's not a fluke. That's not like you just suddenly went, I'm going to be interested in sports. No, that's not how it works at all. And so when somebody else does something that bothers you and upsets you and takes you off your path, there's a really good chance it's because you think they've actually like consciously done this, like this malicious act. Most philosophies dating back thousands of years already came to the conclusion that most bad behavior can be described as a form of ignorance rather than malicious, that they don't know better. This is the best they can do. Their whole life led up to this moment. They're carried away by this tidal wave of their life that's carried them to this place. And so the next move was bound to happen. They're simply working with whatever they've got. One thing I'll tell you is everybody's making the best possible decision that they can. Nobody's deliberately making a worse than possible decision. Now, there's a lot of people making bad decisions and decisions that don't reach their full capability, but because they can't access that full capability in this moment, you get a lesser decision. There are guys out there who steal cars and they have decision-making ability to not steal cars, but at the moment of stealing the car, that ability is not available to them. And that's why they steal the car. That restraint is not there. There's a build-up behind it. Maybe they told themselves a story about the drug debt that they're in. Maybe they tell themselves a Robin Hood-like story about how they're taking from the rich to balance things out. And by the time they get to the car that somebody's left their keys in, it's not even a choice anymore. However, I do believe you are able to consciously impact your decision making through reflection and measurement. That is, you can make your future decision making more likely to steer in a certain direction depending on how you measure your past decision making. So rather than trying to control the decision I'm about to make, I review the decisions I have made and give myself feedback on how well those decisions went for me. I journal every single day, and that's just the journaling. I also reflect quite often on what I've done or what I'm doing and give myself a sense of how well it's going for me. You know, what kind of goal was I trying to achieve? Is this going in that direction? Was it even a good goal to have? So on. And by constantly giving myself this feedback, I actually reprogram the decision making at a subconscious level to like sort of remind my brain, hey, this is where I'm trying to get to, and that didn't help, or that does help, so do more of this. And I've noticed that does improve my decision making in the future. And later on, I go to a similar situation, I'll be like, well, I've been here before, and last time I fucked it up. Let's not do that again. So if you do want to affect your decision making, reflect and review with detached observation what you've done, how well it worked, whether it's achieving your goals or not. And just let that information come to you as bravely as you can. Like, take that feedback and rest assured that that will have some sort of nudging effect on future decision making. This is also how you can affect other people's decision making. Rather than thinking, oh, that guy's an asshole for stealing a car, try having a conversation with him about the effect that stealing the car had on the car owner. And maybe that empathy and guilt might affect his future decisions about stealing cars, which is exactly how it works, by the way, because I used to rehabilitate criminals successfully sometimes.